welcome back to the morning show on Rice News. With political party nomination forms going through the roof, as was amply demonstrated by this week's release of a list of forms and their prices by the All Progressives Congress, it's becoming clearer that the political space continues to shrink to youth participation in the political process ahead of next year's election. How then can this critical demographic of Nigeria's massive population positively engage in the processes that will midwife the country's next set of leaders? Well, joining us now to have a conversation around what possible options Nigeria's young people might have ahead of next year's elections are Ibrahim Abdul Karim, who is the convener of #WeTogether movement, an initiative that aims at forging a common front that aims at facilitating youth participation and inclusiveness in nation building. We share this platform with Nonso Nnamdi, who describes himself as a politician, entrepreneur, leadership and transformation expert. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Ibrahim. Good morning, Nonso. All right, Ibrahim, let me start with you and let us start from your platform, #WeTogether movement. One is for you to tell us what this is about, and then secondly, in explaining to us what that means, I would have thought that we are past the stage, of hashtags, that by now we ought to be identifying with specific political parties and indeed specific individuals who will run for office. Is that where you are with #WeTogether movement, or are we still putting up ideas as to who should pick the form and who should not run? Right.
Thank you very much. WeTogether is not just a hashtag. We have gone around the country at least. We are following our activities. We have done unveiling in the 6th political zone. The idea of the WeTogether is that, as we said, is that the generation is trying to come together, at least not to pass in the baton of failure to the next generation coming after us. We have to do something. So the reason why we call it WeTogether was we think that all what you are saying in your introduction, that the amount of money some of these political parties are asking for political countries is off the roof. But if we come together, it's something that I think we can do it just very easily. You can see what happened during the Big Brother when we did the voting, raising the amount of money and everything that we have done. It's just that we are not coming together. We are not seeing ourselves as a team. We work individually, and most of us actually work for the big people, or the big money bags that we're talking about, just for us to get some cases, just to have some small appointment and things like that. But actually, it's not within our own range to crowdfund ourselves and then create a platform where we can come together. If we can bring 1 million, just 1 million young Nigerians from all walk of life that can at least give 1,000 naira in a month. 1,000 naira is equivalent to, for 1 million people, is 1 billion. And then if you look at the population, out of the 84 million Nigerian registered voters, count and see, almost 60% of that population are young Nigerians. So it's just that we are not coming together, we are not thinking together, we are not acting together, we don't know what we want. And then there is nobody is bringing us together. Nobody is mentoring us. Nobody is telling us the Nigeria we're supposed to create. So we just busy just doing our thing. Just few of us escape just out of nowhere just to become governors. Some escape to become commissioners and just like that by accident. Not just being properly put up that this is exactly what we want you to achieve for Nigeria in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 100 years. That's how nations build. So when we together realize that we have to create this platform, and we have to go to the core of the problem, because you will see the answers, you see the skill note, you see blah blah, but there is that core that the value of Nigerian life is very, very low, from the standard of houses to the lack of electricity, any other thing that you can put up. You can see that the Nigerian life is not being valued. So let's put up something that all Nigerian lives matters. Let's start from there. Let's make sure that at least we have a charter of demands that we are going to present to any candidate that is going to come, even if we cannot get our own people onto this platform. But thank God, when we together, we have already sponsored almost 4 to 5 different competition candidates in different smaller parties, and we are doing it with almost 15 or 14 senators. We are going around to see how we are going to create this awareness, not just to make it as a hashtag, but let's see how we are practically going to do it, because it's a 10-year project we want to do, which is going to end by 2021 as a post-fit. But we have an election now by 2023. So we are going to see how are we going to make sure that at least we put up those people, not just young Nigerians. We are not asking of young Nigerians to be in government. We are thinking of competent young Nigerians to be in government, because that is that word, that competence. They have to know what they are going to offer. Then us and the people living abroad that already acquire all the knowledge that we need, they can come and participate and be part of it, because the system is not prepared for newcomers, for new people to come in and change the system. Because let me just give you an example. With this, if you don't have a godfather, you don't have the money, and then you are not trying to be a thug, or you are trying to have an army of thugs, you can be in this political dispensation. So what we are trying to do together is to see how we are going to eliminate this. And most importantly, we want to take this thing to the world level. We are not going to do this fight at the national level in Abuja or in the capital city, but how are we going to go down at the world level? Because democracy is a matter of representation. If you miss the representation system at the world level, you miss almost everything. Like, for example, all these presidential candidates, opposition candidates, are all going to be taken care of by what? By the delegates. Delegates are selected and started by what? From where? From the world level. So we're supposed to create a new version of a system, because this system that we have been practicing from 1999 to date actually is not going to give young Nigerians a chance for them to showcase their own part in nation building. So what we said that let's create another team parallel to the existing structure, so that at least we can have clean young Nigerians that will be taking them into the system well prepared. For example, if we have our own governors forum, or we have our own people that are going to vie for election, what we intend to do for them is that let them go for training. We have identified almost 3 or 4 different companies that will help us to now teach them, to let them understand what is going to be their function when they become National Assembly, State Assembly members, when they become Federal Assembly, House of Representatives, or Senators. What are they supposed to be their function they're supposed to do?
All right, Ibrahim, I'm going to have to come in there and bring Nonso into this conversation. We'll come back to you in a few minutes. Nonso, so as a youth political activist, could you talk us through some of the key challenges that Nigerian youth face? Those with political ambition are part, keyword will be apart from the political, the financial bottlenecks. Let's talk about some of the key challenges. Ibrahim has mentioned a few things, but let's look at the granular details with you.
Thank you, Abby. For me, what I believe is the greatest challenge of Nigerian youth in getting involved in politics is their inability to organize themselves. Okay, while finances or the elite political class can pose a challenge, what I believe is the greatest disadvantage to young people is their inability to organize. Okay, so when we can effectively organize ourselves, then we will discover that the elite structure will no longer be a challenge. We'll discover that financing money for elections or raising money for campaign will no longer be a challenge. And that is what we have been trying to campaign and push for in the last few months, in talking to Nigerians to come together and organize themselves. Look at what happened during NSAS. We discovered that the success of NSAS was as a result of our ability to organize ourselves. All of a sudden, funding was no longer an issue. All of a sudden, structure was no longer an issue. You see that all over the whole state, Nigerian youths, got united and mobilized to ensure that their voices were heard. And these are the things we keep advocating for when it comes to politics. Young people need to start, looking at things differently, looking at the way we organize and bring ourselves together on issues about politics. Most young people are not interested. When they talk about money, I say money is not really our problem. It's just that we are not organized. looking at even the issue of funds, they say that the fund is just about 100 million naira for PC and then 40 million naira for PDP. I always ask, in 2019, how much was it? It was 50 million. So these things keep increasing, it keeps getting worse. And for me, I don't think that young people not having the money is issue, but not organizing. You remember when Davido, raised more than 200 million naira within 24 hours. He's a young person. Those monies were contributed by young people, but they had a network that was organized in their own industry, and they were able to disrupt the system. I believe that when young Nigerians begin to organize themselves, begin to come together, look into political issues, have a different mindset, to move away from transactional politics to a more transformational politics, what will happen is that we are going to see an emergence of a new political class that will provide solution, to the challenges that we are facing as a nation.
Right. Now, so what would you say is the key stumbling block to organization? What will it take to oil the wheels of organization? What is standing in the way of getting organized?
Okay, so one of them is divided interest. Okay, because we have challenges, overlapping issues about poverty, for instance, the failure of the educational system. What happened is that we now have divided interests, divide and rule, where you see elite political class begin to, get involved in youth movements, and they begin to buy out some certain youth blocks, get young people to fight each other. And this is basically happening because we are not sharing the visions enough. The movement we started last year, we started having this conversation, and young people are beginning to see, they are beginning to think differently. They're beginning to understand that we don't need to allow the elite class to divide us, because the challenges we face as a nation, affects young people the most. So and the way out of our problem is to fix politics. The transactional politics also is one of them. Where we go for immediate gratification and not, looking at the future, ensuring that we have a solution that will benefit even our children and those generations here to come. So what we are trying to do is to shift our eyes from immediate gratification and begin to ask questions about the future. Begin to, 2019 I was running for election. Let me just, share a quick story. I came to my constituency and a young man said, okay, yeah, you are running for election, what do you have for us? And I started asking him that you are meeting somebody who has the potential to become, the next lawmaker, one of the lawmakers in the state, and you cannot ask about the healthcare system. You cannot ask about jobs. You cannot ask my plan for education. And all you want to ask me for is a bottle of beer. Don't you see that something is wrong with that conversation? And little by little, we are beginning to shift the mindset of young people. It's going to take a lot of paradigm shift. It's going to take a lot of, okay, you got something in 2019, okay, where does it bring you to in 2023? And most young people are beginning to awaken to that consciousness. And then we have been seeing a lot of partnerships. People are coming together. The movement that my brother is running also, different movements all over together. People are beginning to come together to see that we have to, have a united front to be able to organize. And that is the only way out of the Nigerian situation.
All right, Ibrahim, let me come back to you. I see that you had a lot to say initially about We Together movement, but looking at what Nonso has said about the expected paradigm shift and the reluctance of the youth in organizing themselves properly, I'd like to ask you, how much faith do you have in the youth playing the critical role that is expected of them in 2023, given the fact that for the party primaries, generally, the party will determine who their candidates will be. If it's a consensus, as we saw through what APC did at the party level, you see that not many people will have a say. Even if it is indirect primary, only a few people, 7,800 as far as APC is concerned, and about 6,000 plus, for PDP. Not many youths would be represented, so you are forced to deal with those that the parties push forward. But with the head count, with the advantage that the youths have in their numbers, if they do come out for the elections, What do you think will happen in 2023 if it looks like it's the same of same that the parties are pushing forward? We have not had so much from the Youth Party and a few other parties among the 18 outside of the big four or big five that you have. So people might want to ask, what has all the noise been about? Is NSAS for nothing if the youth power can't actually change anything at the end of the day in 2023? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought first thing is that the media is creating these two Nigerian parties. I think they always try to box up and tell that it's only two Nigerian parties all the time in the radio, the newspapers, print media, everywhere you see that they are just trying to tell us that these are the only two people that we can. Actually, it's not like that. The two parties are boasting of only two things, money and structure. What we are calling We Together, for example, as Mr. Noso said, is that we are not organizing ourselves. If we organize ourselves as young Nigerians, we can select out of the 18. We can rally behind one person. We can look at them. That's why we said in We Together we have what is called a candidate selection committee. What the committee is supposed to do for us is that they are supposed to itemize what type of president we want at this particular time in the history of Nigeria. We need somebody that will come and unite us more. We need somebody that is going to talk to us every fourth day. We need somebody that is going to be very competent to understanding all the nature of our problem. What is it going to be his take and other things that we're supposed to have. Those committees are supposed to now roll out. That's why we said if we can come together, because what we intend to do by 14th of May, we wanted to do what is called Generation Declaration, where the young Nigerian will sit and tell the whole world that this is our charter of demand. This is what we want the next government to do for us in sport. This is what we want in entertainment. This is what we want in security. This is what we want in school. This is how we want to resolve the problem for the ASU. This is how much we're supposed to pay them. This is what we want them to do. We want you to take the debt fund back to the ASU, not that we be giving it to the politicians. These are some of the things that are charter of demand, because we have never sat to iron out within ourselves. What is our need? What did we want this government to come? I can hear almost all the aspirants telling us what they want to do for us, but it's not supposed to be that. We're supposed to tell them what we want them to do for us. We have the number, but because, as Mr. Noso said, we are not organizing ourselves, we are not coming together. And those that are in the diaspora, lamentation, not feeling comfortable with Nigeria is going to, the people from the business community, any other person that we can think of that is not happy, they are not using their resources, they are not coming together, they are not bringing people together, they are not talking sense into Nigerians. But what we intend to do with it, together, using our 5x5x5 formula that we're doing, we want to reach out to young Nigerians and also all Nigerians, irrespective of party affiliation, irrespective of tribe, religion, or social class at the world level, so that we can do what is called stakeholder engagement with them. Talk to the religious, talk to the pastors, talk to the imams, and then put up something that can help us to now iron out and design the engagement we want to have with this place. So that if a politician is coming into town, he's not supposed to come with a big loud noise of music and then with a bunch of people just following him and talks following him just for him to come and do rally. No, what we intend to do is that let's select people from our own so they can sit down with him and sign a social contract. This is what is lacking. And then we have to have a system where we'll do what is called M&E, that's a monetary evaluation, so that at least at the end of 4 years, we know this man, did he perform? Some of these people that are becoming governors, that are now running to become senators, what are the indications we put it in place to check that whether they have done something good as being governors, to be rewarded or to sit as senators? What have they done in their life? What have they been doing in the business? This is something that is missing in the political system. And then the lecturers that we have, the judges, the lawyers, everybody, journalists, nobody is doing his work. But I always try to say it on national television. Solving a national project, a national problem like Nigeria, is a collective of everybody. First, you have to ask yourself, why did you go to school? Why are you having what you are having? Why are you the richest Nigeria? Why are you the best journalist? You are all giving those awards because you're supposed to fix your country. You all get those. You went out and you read outside the country, or you become whatever you want to be outside the country. You become a Nobel laureate. You're supposed to start organizing people. Young people cannot organize themselves. So you have to create a system that will organize them. If you are doing something that will create value in their lives, you can create something that they will add something to them, then you see them coming to that angle. But the rich people, for example, just create a system of they have a football tournament to play. You will see all of them. You see almost all of them coming out. But if you can say, okay, you can't enter the football arena unless you have your PVC, or you have a bracelet that says that you have a PVC that you come, then everybody, you see them going to get their PVC. Then you can have an arena during the halftime, talk to them about their online, because they are the ones that are going to be paying school fees. They are the ones that are going to be searching for a job. If Nigeria is not fixed, where are they going to get the job? So the problem that we are having today is that we are not organizing ourselves, and then the smart ones that we can call the smart ones, they are not doing their. Somebody created what is called maybe a hub. He make money. He make hundreds of millions of dollars. Instead of him to start thinking of, okay, this is why I'm today. I'm a tech giant. I have $200 million, for example. How am I going to organize my own peers? How am I going to bring a system for them so that at least they can add value to their lives? If you can see the street in the north here, you can see jobless Nigerians. You can see the elementary. You can see everything. You will know that the problem is not even started now.
All right, Ibrahim. I'm going to have to come in there on that note.
Better than that.
Well noted. But I'm going to stay with you. This is going to be a question for both you and Nonso. While you are on this, you've made some very cogent points, and it seems like you're putting a lot of work and effort. But let's talk about your collective experiences, both you and Nonso, over time in this space. Would you say that Nigeria's today's political climate is really ready for youth participation, in your opinion?
Yeah. In my opinion, actually, it's really ready. I know of a long group of young Nigerians, I can count them in thousands, that they have served the old generation. They are very good. Even as of today, I talk to them. They are LA, they are SAs, they are PAs, and whatever. They are virtually very wonderful Nigerians all over the world, not only in Nigeria. They have the skills, they have almost everything. What is just missing, as Nonso said, is that we are not organizing ourselves. We are not bringing the best out of us. We are not presenting our best. This is what we're supposed to do. If you do a movement like We Together, where we are doing what is called leadership by responsibility, because leadership responsibility help us for us to now see among ourselves those that are committed to the nation. Because if you want to create all the problems we see in Nigeria, is the issue of injustice. Injustice always remove peace from people. So without justice, you cannot have peace, and without peace, you cannot have prosperity. So if we really want to do something, it's just like an analogy I always give people. We are always searching for the drivers. These politicians that we are seeing, the president, whatever, they are just drivers. We are Nigerians. We need a system that have these institutions are working. Because if you don't have a country, that's the car. Even if you bring the driver cannot drive you anywhere. You have to fix the car. We have to fix our institutions.
Very well noted, Ibrahim. Let's bring Nonso in because we're approaching the end of the segment. So let's hear from Nonso very briefly on that. Nonso, what is your take? Do you believe that the Nigerian political climate is ready for youth participation in the true sense of it? Nonso, are you